Bienvenidos. I'm your host, Luis. So, pretty some rad Photoshop skills here. But my name is Luis Majano. I'm here to be your host for today. So to start off, just kind of a big thank you for all the sponsors, people that have been helping us for many years, all these companies from Adobe, Fusion React. Third year of Into the Box here in Texas. We actually have a PWA app finally. So thanks to Gavin and Andrew Davis for putting that together. So if you go to schedule.intothebox.org, it's powered by ContentBox and Quasar. So that way you can keep up with all the schedules for today and tomorrow. Okay. Another big round for our speakers that are coming from all over the world. So if you're a speaker, just please stand and be recognized. All right. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. And now it's time to be awkward. When you're in a conference, I think sometimes there are the people that want to talk all the time, and there are people that want to get away from people talking all the time. So this morning, I always do this, is we take 30 seconds just for you guys to talk to each other. Say hi, say your name. Don't tell them your life story, okay? Don't tell them about your pains and griefs, unless you want to. But just take 30 seconds and go. Talk. Nice to meet you, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. All right, I guess you guys got carried away. Dang. All right. Settle down. There's more time later. Social experiment worked. All right, so you can do that later at Happy Box. So 6 p.m. Happy Box will start. it will be here. So just come back after the last session, and there will be drinks, food, and of course our traditional mariachi band and Jorge Reyes singing. There'll be 2 raffles, of course. We got some goodies donated to us, so it'll be fun. One before Happy Box, and then another one tomorrow. Must be present to win. Must be sober, maybe, but be here. To start off, also a big round of applause to all these people that really believe in us and help us by giving us money to actually support all the open source stuff that we do. We are patrons or Patreons, or however you say it. But please, if you want to support us and all the stuff that we do, you can become a patron today. So thank you very much. So let's just start delving into our keynote for today. Ortus has grown quite a bit since I started this. So if you're a part of Team Ortus, maybe you can stand and just let them know. These guys put up with me to put this thing together for a year, so thanks to all the Team Ortus for helping out. So we'll start with the CFML modernization plan. We kind of started in 2016. We really saw the huge need that we had as a community to evolve. So we focused a lot on tooling, all the tools that we've been building to really foment the community. This Into the Box is part of that. And of course, education, all the training courses, a bunch of stuff that we just put out there for people to actually promote our language. But I thought it would be interesting this year to kind of go through memory lane and show you how we have evolved and why are the decisions that we take and where we're going. So we'll start off with kind of our birth or hope years. In 2006, I founded Ortus as a side company just to do freelancing. And Coldbox was born that summer and released for the very first time. And that was the song of the year, by the way. So Coldbox started in 2006. By 2007, I released the Coldbox sites, the Ortus sites. We had an IRC channel. Who remembers IRC? Awesome IRC channel. Beyonce was on the radio, and the Coldbox Cache was born in 2007. That's our initial meddlings with caching. 2008, the Coldbox 2.6 series started. Integration testing actually began at that time, so long ago. REST support was introduced in 2008. I did my very first training actually here in Texas, in Dallas, that year. And one of the most important things that happened that year was that Rilo was open sourced, right, in 2008 at the end of the year. And of course, we had the tunes of Flo Rida. 2009 was really a pivotal year. I was ready to give up on Cold Fusion at that time. I saw no progress, and I was actually doing a lot of Groovy development where I worked. So it was a pivotal year for us in determining where do we go. However, due to the open source nature of Rilo and introduction of I remember that day Cold Fusion 9 with Hibernate, my hope was revived, and we decided to go all in. And 2009, actually the first version of ForgeBox was released. Right? Made a commitment to do more trainings. Logbox was born. Mockbox was born. I did a project with Mark Mandel called Codex Wiki. The beginnings of Wirebox as well began as a bean factory. We did all kinds of JVM integrations with other languages at that time, and we had our first CBORM integration. Then we kind of move into our infancy years. 2010, Cachebox was finally released as a standalone project. We started working on our first commercial project called DataBoss, starting to mess with IDEs to kind of help tooling in that area. Hierarchical MVC was introduced that year, so modules were born in 2010, and we started Coldbox support services, and we migrated to GitHub. By 2011, this was another pivotal year for me because I decided to leave my full-time job to dedicate myself to Ortus. So everything that happened before was just working very hard, late nights, no kids yet until 2011. Wirebox was released standalone, Coldbox 3, Coldbox Relax, lots of modules got started. Bill Garud actually joined the Ortus team at that time, first member, employee number 1. And Blockbox was born, actually. Somebody is saying, what the heck is Blockbox? Well, Blockbox actually became ContentBox. So Blockbox started in 2011, 2012, it became ContentBox. Coldbox 3.5, Brad Wood joined the team that year. Coldbox Developer Week, we started doing more community stuff, more community things. And we started a project called DevBox. Who remembers Coldbox DevBox? Just Brad? Wow. So DevBox was our initial server offering that we wanted to bring and make the developers' lives easier for development. It still exists, it was still there, but that was the beginnings of what we wanted for CommandBox, actually. We started messing around with the engines, actually building extensions. We had an online course that was actually pretty horrible, but it's still actually there. And TestBox started to brew at that time. 2013, first commercial product released as DataBoss. We moved to Jira. Into the Box started coming up with Brad. We wanted to do something more for the community. We started doing lots of stuff with Couchbase and NoSQL. Our second product got released, ProfileBox, and then TestBox was finally released. And Mr. Jorge Reyes joined the ranks all the way from Switzerland. And actually, we began Project Gideon. And Project Gideon was basically what became CommandBox the next year. So the next year, after a year and 2 of development, 2014, we finally was able to release a beta of what we wanted for CommandBox. It took like 6 seconds, 7 seconds to start up, but it worked. We messed around more with Couchbase, more with BDD training, and we had our first conference, Into the Box, in Minnesota, and it matches the song of the year because we were very happy. And then 2015, we moved Ortus here to the Houston area. So we're Houstonians now. We changed the name to Ortus Developer Week. We started getting more boxes, so it was not only about ColdBox anymore. Command Box 2 moved into it, and we moved all our documentation to Gitbook. And Gavin Pickin joined Ortus at that year. Lucy was released after their little incident. And we started messing with extensions, right? Started getting around with the engines as well. And ForgeBox 2 began development so we could actually offer it not only to the ColdBox community, but to the higher CFML community. And then 2016, another pivotal year for us. ColdBox actually turned 10 years old, or 10 years young. DocBox was introduced, but it was pivotal because we saw the need of evolving the ColdFusion community. The stigma of the dying era, the legacy initiatives began in that year. And John, Esme, and Eric actually joined Ortus that year. Our Patreon campaigns began, and John single-handedly created our entire containers and cloud initiative. So thanks to John. Woohoo! We moved to 2017. Into the Box was for the very first time here in Houston, so that was pretty exciting. Our Docker images were released at the beginning of the year. Brad went crazy one night with too much coffee and developed CFconfig, which has changed the portability of CFML. And the era of CFML microservices really began. We had finally the tools to create these microservices for ColdFusion. Content Box Docker began as well. We started delving a lot with search and Elasticsearch components. Ortus University started at the sounds of Despacito. And then last year, we entered our Rebel Teen era. So we're kind of wild, moody. We don't know what's going to happen with Ortus one day or another. We get mad sometimes. We don't know why. But we're very productive, and we have lots of energy. So Content Box 4 was released last year, actually here at Into the Box. Task Runner support, ColdBox 5 introduced. We introduced CB Streams and our very own rule engine, the very first rule engine for ColdFusion called RuleBox. We started messing now not only with Couchbase, but with Redis. ForgeBox 3 was released, and we announced Quick ORM, which was great. Woo! And now 2019, we started the year where there's already lots of stuff going on. Our Patreon campaigns are growing. We are starting our Modernize or Die initiatives to kind of help move people out of legacy hell. And actually, Ortus El Salvador began this year. So we have 8 developers in El Salvador. Edgardo is here as well from El Salvador. So our team is growing, and now we're expanding. So very exciting. And we're still very moody, but it's good. So 13 years have passed since this journey began, and it's been really, really exciting. We're really motivated in what we do as a team. We're focusing in several areas moving forward. Product development is a huge one for us, developing more open source products and commercial products offerings. Support and training for the community is essential if we want to see it grow. Mentoring and providing consulting for it, and now also staff augmentation thanks to El Salvador. And we introduced this motto, I think it was last year actually, but it's Modernize or Die, and it's the reality for a lot of companies that are dealing with legacy applications. The legacy problem is a problem. Some people want to ignore it, but you can't. It really gives the language a bad name. There's security issues, there are performance issues, employee issues, development issues. It sucks to work on these things, let's be real and honest. Finding developer issues, nobody wants to come work with a dragon like that one. And what's scary to me is some statistics. Thanks to TerraTech doing their State of the Union surveys, over 500 folks. Over 50% do not use any type of MVC framework. Over 50% no type of object orientation, dependency injection framework. And over 50% are not doing any type of testing. And I can guarantee you that all the other 50% are probably lying. Or they're doing manual refreshes of the browser and they say, I've tested. So refresh is not valid testing. Let me clarify that. So it is a real problem which has led to the infamous page of the CFML shaming. You don't want to say to anybody that you do cold fusion. They tell you that you're a dinosaur. What are you doing? Oh, that thing is still alive. But the reality is that there are no more excuses. We really have the tools now and beyond. We have gone above and beyond in several areas. Brad and I have the chance to go to many Java conferences, and sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, we're so light years ahead in so many things. But we just have to speak up. We need to tell our story now. Okay? So we really have to promote the concept of change now. And it's really up to us. There's no hacks, there's no shortcuts. There's just hard work. It's intensity through time here, so we can actually bring about our community forward. So we can actually finally have freedom to enjoy our community and to actually produce awesome things and what I believe are our core values for us as a community. So we can take ownership of this and say, no, we're going to bring Cold Fusion forward. Because the hard reality is that these vendors, in my mind, they won't do it. So that's what we've decided to do, to take ownership, to be disciplined about this, to innovate from within, to create tools, to create solutions, and to share, right? This is what we believe that we can push forward for our community. And actually today, we are going to start new initiatives, which is pretty exciting. So today, we're announcing our Modernize or Die podcasts. We've been talking about this for a while now. We really want to do this to extend the community and actually have a voice now. So it's pretty exciting that finally we're able to do this. It's going to be led by Gavin and Andrew. Okay? We're going to have two formats for our Modernize or Die edition. We're going to have a Soapbox edition and a CFML News edition. The Soapbox edition is going to be weekly. It's going to be a longer format, kind of have guests on board, kind of talk about roadmaps, talk with the Ortus team members, talk behind the scenes, what's going on. And then we're going to have the CFML News, which is going to be also weekly, but shorter snippets. It's going to be pretty much just Andrew and Gavin raving about stuff. So if you want to hear a New Zealander with a redneck, then it's awesome. It's a pair made in heaven. And actually tonight we're going to start recordings, so you can't miss them. These two guys are huge. You don't want to piss them off either. And we're going to start our recordings tonight at Happy Box. So it's pretty exciting. So thanks to Gavin for bringing this initiative forward. And finally now we can bring it forward as a reality. We're also starting a new initiative called our Open Hackathons. So we talked with this with Manuel, our new team member as well. And we're going to be focusing in Houston for now. And we're going to be sponsoring prizes, food and drinks, and targeting university and college students. We want to indoctrinate early as our evil plan. But we're interested in fomenting community, and we believe that if we can target college students that want prizes and want food and drink, we can help, right? So hopefully we'll start this year and start bringing forward all our Cold Fusion tools to the masses. So those are our new initiatives for this year, and we're pretty excited about those. We have lots to show you about all the different products that we have now. But before, I wanted to introduce Senor Samuel Knowlton. He's awesome. He's been doing lots of stuff lately with our products. I don't pay him. And he's just here to talk to you guys a little bit about what he's doing at his company.
Right? I think I'm an actor. I should know better, right? I have no Jocko slides. I'm already a failure. All right, let's see here. And forward. Oh, thank you. In 2015, we were ready to give up on Cold Fusion. In 2016, the word Cold Box appeared in our repo for the first time. And now that a few years have gone by, how did that work out for us? My name is Sam Knowlton. I'm the founder and principal developer at InLeague. I've been at this since 2002, and my credentials are absolutely impeccable. If you don't get the joke, ask anyone with gray hair, or take my word for it, it's just really funny. But who are we, and why does our journey with ColdBox matter to you? Every part of what we do relies on ColdBox or CommandBox. Either the tool we needed was already there and we grabbed it, or something close to it was kind of there and we grabbed it, improved it, and pushed it back out. We have no formal business relationship with Ortus. We're not Into the Box sponsors. Ortus isn't paying us or even giving us free Into the Box tickets to talk to you about this. I'm just saying. I'm right here. In fall of 2017, I attended Luis's session at CF Summit about hierarchical model view controller. Oh, that's a mouthful. REST implementations. And in the space of that one session, though I didn't really know it at the time, what I saw there led to our commitment to drop traditional CF deployments in favor of CommandBox and Docker. And we turned the page on modern APIs being something we read about to something that we were building. We even started a client project just a couple of months ago with the REST HMVC ColdBox template that's out there on GitHub waiting for you. This is 29 lines of code. Wait, did I skip something? Is that a thing? No? Okay, good. This is 29 lines of code, or 20 if you don't count the doc block, but you should count the doc block because it's one of 3 cool things going on in this one little snippet. Here are 2 ColdBox modules and 1 ColdBox template with some in-league modifications. CB Swagger up top is producing some sexy looking API docs for our client. They don't have any for their API, but we do. CF Fractal is one of my favorites, doing the business transformation from our entity to how the client wants to consume it over our API. And then in the middle, Base Handler and the REST response object are handling the API plumbing, authenticating, authorizing the request, converting the payload from the request context, and standardizing the response object. But modern CF isn't interesting. Okay. Modern CF is not just about API development. Things that we've struggled with for years have got really spectacular solutions today, some of them just in the last couple of weeks. This is just a greatest hits of our apps module, modules, but I encourage you to look at CF migrations, Hyper, and Mentifier, though far and away my favorite is Quick and QB. No more Hibernate, and there was an error committing the transaction mysticism. Like, do I get to know what the error was? Eric will tell you what the error was. I can remember, though, not long ago, sitting where you're sitting and seeing some smartass up here showing off a dozen lines of code like they were the Holy Grail and thinking, yeah, that's great, but what does this have to do with what I've got to do every day to not get fired? One of the things that I hear sometimes when these tools get brought up is, yes, we haven't switched to ColdBox yet, and that's all too much. Maybe next year. But you know what? We still haven't switched to ColdBox. Our 2 flagship apps are 17 and 9 years old, respectively, and you had better believe we've got legacy pages in there for whom ColdBox is the luxury apartment complex on the other side of town. Just about all of these tools, and even ColdBox itself, can be dropped into whatever you've got going. And even if it takes you an extra hour to figure out how to do that, that's 2% of your app's code that don't need to be totally refactored whenever next year does come around. And maybe the decision is above your pay grade, but you've got to advocate for modern development. I'm preaching to the choir if you're here already, but if it all seems like too much and you don't know where to start, get an hour or two with somebody, anybody who has been there, and talk about your app, even if you have to pay for it. What's a couple $100 if it makes you confident in your next move?
All right, thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. We'll give you some free tickets for next year. I don't want to see that cat anymore. All right, well, since he mentioned a lot about ColdBox, it is just important to talk about it and where we're going with ColdBox. It's also important to note that ColdBox is now 13 years old. It's going to be its birthday this June. Very mature, very well established, really becoming the de facto standard for HMVC in the ColdFusion space. We started our 4 series back in 2015. our 5 series last year. 2 years later, we've had about 8 minor releases since our initial major release. And we've done 2 major architectural shifts in ColdBox since we've started. And we're not done yet. So we're going to be showing you what's the future for ColdBox right now. It's also really exciting to see how the ecosystem is growing. You can see a chart of all the modules that are being published in ForgeBox for ColdBox. Over 60 in the past 12 months. We've done over 384 closed pull requests, which is great to see all these features coming from the community and not us. Over 300 Box team members, over 500 Box product members. And the real gauge for us is that we have emoji and Alexa support. We know we're making it. So with that, we started this ColdBox 5 vision almost 3 years ago to focus on these modules, to focus on containerization, renderings, how to bring about more modern routing and APIs, and growing our ecosystem. So we're super satisfied with all this vision being accomplished. We started with a big 5.0 release last year to do all kinds of things with APIs, from named regions, named routes, new routing DSL, handler JSON support, really a focus on APIs and modularity. We moved in 5.1 to auto-JSON payloads, improvements in flash RAM, new HTML helper to produce XSS encoded data, fail-fast procedures for high concurrency applications. Then we move into the auto mapping of models to bring about modularity, the router as well as an interceptor, lots of virtual inheritance improvements and wirebox improvements, environment variables into the core. And then we moved into more fail-fast features for high concurrency apps, multi-domain search engine safe URLs, concurrent interception points, lots of performance enhancements in 5.3. Okay. And then 5.4 was released last week. So 5.4 introduces very cool things. We introduced a box injection namespace that I'll talk about today. We included the ability to run named routes internally inside of ColdBox. Elixir 3 support, module inception by the core, high I/O logging for Lockbox. We do streaming now to files, so it's really, really fast. We also did a streaming console appender, especially for Docker, so you can actually stream data to the console, and it's really fantastic. And we completely rewrote CacheBox. So CacheBox was completely rewritten to script and modernized. New interfaces, a huge focus on performance, multi-method outputs, reset timeouts to produce better session storages, and of course, Adobe broke things, so we had to fix it. Our containerization efforts brought about the ability to talk to system properties very easily, to control the environment through environment variables as well, which was really key for container deployments. It brought about easy marshalling of data to JSON. So now in a handler, you just return complex data and it'll auto-marshal it for you. You can do it for XML, for PDF, for JSON, whatever you want. John Clausen introduced a very cool feature. If you're working with modern frameworks such as Vue.js or Angular or React, you get a JSON payload in your HTTP body, and it will automatically translate into request collection variables. No meddling, really easy stuff. Especially for the API era, we completely rewrote the routing to a modern routing service in DSL. You can actually write things very fluently. And it supports HMVC, so every module can have its own router or influence the parent router. So a really nice hierarchical approach to routing. We also introduced routing responses, so you can write lambdas or closures and actually no handlers right from your router. You can actually build stuff. Resourceful routes to bring about lots of routes by convention, make your life easier when building APIs. And of course, since everybody should be testing, right? You're the 50% from that chart. API integration testing to allow you to do very easy HTTP verb posting, parameters, headers, etc. So last week we introduced our box injection DSL. So this allows us now to create not only ColdBox modules, but what we're calling box modules. So now our modules are going to be focused so they can run at the CLI and they can run at the web. And now, tomorrow, you'll find out where other places. But this has become pivotal as Wirebox is now powering not only the CLI, but the web, and then tomorrow we'll find out what. So very exciting of where we are, but we're not done. We really want to push forward in all areas. So we're introducing our 4-year roadmap for ColdBox now. 2019 will be more of 5X series, but work on 6 has already begun in terms of development and what we want to do. Hopefully by next year, we'll have a 6 final and 6 release candidates, and 5 will enter our very first long-term support. By 2021, we move still with long-term support, and we're going to start working on 7 and finalizing more versions on 6. And finally, in 2022, having a 7 final if possible, and 6 going into long-term support. We have even further visions for 6. We have to drop a lot of CFML engine support, keep modernizing. But we're focusing on rendering engines, on API development still. But now we're introducing the capability to do streams and functional programming with ColdBox and concurrency. You guys remember Mr. Funky from last year? Well, Mr. Funky's back. So last year we introduced streams, which is the ability to actually tap into the JDK ability to do stream collection and data pipelines in Java. We have a session today about it if you want to go find out about it. We also introduced the Java optional class into CFML to allow you more functional programming aspects. And we're working on futures. This is something that we wanted to do for a long time. And hopefully after futures, we were working on CBRX and bring you reactive programming to CFML. So streams has really been something that has revolutionized a lot of things already. Streams will be core for all boxes. Optionals will be core for all boxes to bring you about more functional style programming, to bring you a synchronicity, easy synchronicity without being hindered by the engine and locking you in to only 20 threads or whatever. And finally, reactivity. This is a big focus for us to increase the developer knowledge in this area. We also are envisioning new rendering engines per ColdBox. We've always had the ability to just render ColdBox views, but we've had a lot of requests for other things. So we're going to be expanding it to support multiple rendering engines. So not only can you do ColdBox views, but you can use the ColdBox templating language if you want. You can use Inertia.js, which allows you to do integrations to Vue.js. We're even pondering some server-side JavaScript rendering, thanks to the JDK, which actually has this already, and custom rendering engines. So no longer will you just be restricted to just ColdBox CFML, but a range of Vue rendering capabilities. Wirebox is targeted for complete rewrite in this next version. Full script, full modernization, focus on better debugging and error messages, streams integration. We're talking about how to streamline metadata, because metadata really kind of sucks right now in the CFML engines. And we're also talking about pre-optimizations. How can we pre-optimize our applications so they're faster for reading metadata and re-inits and deployment? We're also going to be moving class loading to the core, right, so we can support it. Concurrent singleton initializations, so parallelism for the construction of objects. We want to introduce new lazy constructs to provide you easy ways to provide laziness for properties, and also provide optional functions where functions can actually return optionals instead of null or doesn't exist. We're not done. We still wanted to think about rendering data transformers in the world of APIs. Right now, we do all these our way, but we know that people are picky, so they wanted to do it their way. So we're providing that capability, hopefully, in this release, so they can actually provide new or override the way that things are rendered in different data structures. We have already set the foundation for the Cachebox functional DSL. Everything will be provided with optionals, so you don't have to deal with nulls anymore when getting things from the cache. We're going to be providing streams, so you can actually get streams of cache data. You can actually also be able to retrieve or set or look up or even reap things in parallel thanks to streams. So you're going to be able to produce a parallel DSL to retrieval of cache data and hopefully maybe later reactivity. Our CB Futures is going to be based off the Java Completable Future API. The Java Completable Future API is incredible. It is fantastic. It is well written, well documented, and it's pretty much everything that we need to bring futures into CFML. Introducing async function annotations, so you can very easily asynchronize functions, run async events, run async routes, announce async interceptions, and then provide, once we've done that, reactivity, so you can actually have reactivity inside of your events. And then our final piece of what we're thinking for the future of Coldbox is something we've been wanting to do for a long time. It's the Coldbox query language. If you guys have heard of GraphQL and the ability to actually turn APIs into dynamic APIs instead of static routing, we've been pondering how to do this. So we have a plan in place, hopefully, to allow for Coldbox routing to receive requests, abstract the query language to a consistent search criteria API, tap into Quick or ORM or whatever else to produce the queries that we need, push them out to the Mementifier to marshal them, and produce whatever JSON we need. It could look like something like this, where you can have a resource and then have a query language to actually determine what to bring back in your queries. So this is still in design and research, but it's something that's coming for us with the simplicity of Coldbox instead of relying on Java GraphQL. But we're still very, very excited about where we're going with Coldbox. It's been 13 years since I started this, and I think we're even re-energized now that we have a huge team, not a huge team, I think it's a huge team, to work on this and produce the next 13 years. So with that, I'm super, super excited still about this. And there's more stuff to show you. So I want to bring over Brad to talk about Command Box and the state of the box there.
Thank you, Luis. Good morning, everyone. All right. Want to see it again? Let's do it again. All right, enough of that. So, state of the command. It's been a year since I've been up here talking about Command Box. Command Box is 5 years old in June, which is just an amazing journey thinking about that. I remember the first time we demoed it at CF Objective, probably almost 6 years ago, and somebody asked me if it was just a web browser using CSS to look like a console, and I said, no, it's a real exe file on Windows. Command Box is our first foray into server products, dealing with the servlet and with web servers. This last year, the last 12 months since ITB 2018, we've closed 157 JIRA tickets. I've had 32 merged pull requests from the community, which I think is just awesome. There's a lot of features that have happened from you guys. There's been over 19,000 downloads of Command Box, and that's just the ones off the Ortus product page. Doesn't count the apt-get repos and brew installations. So lots of usage going on. We started the 4X series of Command Box last year. We released it at this conference, and we've had 6 minor releases since our last Into the Box. Lots of activity has been going on this year with Command Box. Starting with 4.0, we had a major rewrite of the CLI. We moved to Lucy 5 and JSR 223. We improved task runners. We added support for private packages in ForgeBox, revamped server logs, Coldbox 5 support, the bullet train shell, my favorite module in the world, new UI for the progress bars, new active jobs. Also my second favorite feature, 256 colors. Yes. Syntax hide on the REPL. 4.0 was a major release. Following that in 4.1, we added interactive mode for running on CI servers, loading ad hoc modules from your task runners. 4.2 brought the installation binary size down, better tab completion, exit codes. S3 endpoint was a pull request from the community between Don Watson and John Berquist, updated the server tray. In 4.3, we added task runner improvements, gzip compression on the web servers, the for each command, so you can do some funky xargs kind of stuff from Command Box, and preliminary support for new Java versions. 4.4, we had enhanced directory watchers, JSON color coding, another pull request from John Berquist. The gist endpoint installation, which is another pull request from Jason Steinhauser. 4.5, we brought in integrations for OpenJDK. So Command Box can install Java for you automatically. Just tell it what version you want. It'll download OpenJDK. Environment variables. Finally, support for ForgeBox Enterprise, which we'll be talking about a lot this conference. We changed the bundled JRE from Oracle JDK to OpenJDK based on the major licensing changes that have happened in the Java world, and we added support for test box code coverage, which we'll also be talking more about. 4.6, features and enhancements, task runners, fixes for private packages, lots of stuff has been going on. So Command Box has really been a fun product to see people using. I love to see it take life and see people writing things with it. You don't need to spin up a server to run Cold Fusion. You can run task runners and CLI scripts right from the command line. People are automating their builds. They're automating processes with Cold Fusion using Windows services, using cron jobs. We're using Command Box task runners to build things like ColdBox now. We used to use Apache Ant, those big XML files. Oh, XML, right? But not anymore. We use sweet CFML for those automations. We've simplified local development, spinning up servers. You can now have scripted, consistent deployments, easier, continuous integration, continuous development, and of course, there's been a lot of cool CFML-based CLI utilities like Fixinator from Pete, Code Checker, CF Format, which I think is John Berquist, CF ScriptMe, also from Pete. I love seeing these tools cropping up out there from you guys in the community, so keep those coming. One of our big features, obviously, is the server portion of Command Box. That's really been what a lot of people use it for. Command Box is not just a development tool, right? It's a full production web server, and a lot of people are using it for production. Command Box powers all the Ortus production sites like ForgeBox and the Ortus blog. It's a Java E servlet, right? It's all built on JBoss Undertow, which is what powers JBoss Wildfly. So it's a very high performance asynchronous web server. All built on non-blocking I/O. We support HTTP2, HTTPS, and even WebSocket support coming. So a lot of stuff going on in Command Box, and it's been exciting to see how it's helped the community. We're growing to become the #1 web server. That's our goal. We'll put it on a slide, make it happen. I was looking at some stats. All-time downloads, there's been over 36,000 downloads of Adobe Cold Fusion engines. That means somebody types start CF engine equals Adobe, some version. And there's been also over 36,000 downloads of Lucy engines. So that's pretty cool. That's a lot of people out there using Command Box to start Adobe and Lucy servers. And it only downloads the first time. So if you start the server twice, there's not another download. So that's a lot of unique versions being started. It's pretty cool. Powering local development, Docker containers, production VMs, all the way across the board. So one of our goals at Ortus, we want to strengthen this area. We want to bulk up the features for servers, and we want to be able to support our users specifically. We have people putting apps into production. They need those to be stable. They need them to be supported. So announcing today, Command Box will always be free and open source, but we're going to have a supported version of Command Box called Command Box Pro. So if your company depends on Command Box to deliver your production traffic, and you want to make sure that you can always have bugs fixed, you can always have questions answered, we're going to have this commercial version of Command Box that bundles support and exclusive features. So we'll have professionally open source software, POSS, for Command Box. It'll include the automatic JDK management. We'll have bundled modules that come out of the box, so you have a package ready to go. You don't need to assemble it. The .env, host updaters, CFconfig, ngrok, code checker, productivity tools like that. There will also be some exclusive modules that will only be in Command Box Pro. Help with locking down your servers for the government STIGs if you have to deal with that. Automatic lockdowns, exclusive access with the audit command that comes through Fixinator. Also the Service Manager, which is a new module that's a commercial module, allows you to create Windows services automatically from the command line. That'll be part of Command Box Pro. And of course, you'll get high priority bug fixes and support and mentorship. So it also will help you run jQuery. Don't ask. When we were looking at other similar products online, you know, JBoss and WebSphere, they all had jQuery in a bullet point. And we're like, what? Of course it runs jQuery. So hey, we also will allow you to run jQuery with Command Box. We will not prevent you from doing that. So this is brand new, just being released. The developer licenses will be $29 per developer per month, and then a server license will be $39. That'll be unlimited JVM instances and unlimited containers. Very simple pricing model. We've tried to be competitive. We looked at JBoss, Resin, Glassfish, WebLogic, WebSphere, and those servlet-based solutions average $600 a month per server, which is just insane. The Oracle one is insane. It was like $16,000 a month. So we're trying to be a bit more competitive than that. We want you guys to be able to have servers that are supported. You have your questions answered. You have bugs fixed right away, but not breaking your bank on that. So lots of things coming, lots of enhancements, especially around servers. Here's our 4-year roadmap. 2019, we're in the middle of the 4 series. We'll be starting Command Box 5 this year. 2020, we'll have release candidates and the final releases of Command Box 5, and Command Box 4 will enter its long-term support. We're doing the same long-term support releases that we're doing with Command Box. That's important for a lot of places. They need to be able to guarantee that one version will be supported for a long time. 2021, Command Box 4 will still be in long-term support. We'll already be working on Command Box 6. And by 2020, Command Box 5 should be in long-term support, and we'll be working on the 6 series. So we have a roadmap out into the future. Still, one of our ideas we're looking at working on is the idea of JVM containers. A Docker mindset, but without the full Docker infrastructure, so the ability to take a Command Box server, all your settings, all your code, your environment, your source code, and package it up into some sort of binary that you can deploy all at once. So that's on our roadmap as well. Additionally, more JVM languages. We want to kind of help break out of the cold fusion space. We want to get other JVM users using Command Box so we can kind of broaden the appeal and get people tasting the CFML Kool-Aid, right? So Java, Kotlin, Groovy, Scala, all these other JVM languages, we want to get them onto that. Maven endpoints, easy WebSockets, a lot of performance. Definitely have a lot of security things we want to work on, better lockdowns out of the box. Undertow 3 is coming, which uses Netty for very fast performance, and obviously more ASCII art. We always want more ASCII art. So one of the other things we're working on are strategic partnerships, which brings me to a duplicate of that slide. Senior Security. So, Pete.
All right, thank you, Senior Brad. Okay, so my company, Fandeo, has been building on Ortus tools for quite some time. Looking through Luis's history there, I think I was at the first Into the Box back in Minneapolis, and I've been to quite a few of them. I've been working with Command Box since probably one of the early betas. I know it was at least before version 1 came out. So Fandeo relies heavily on these Ortus tools, heavy use of test box to ensure the products that I build are working properly. Cold box and the Docker images are all going into the workflow every day. So I noticed some gaps though in some of the security tooling that's out there for CFML developers. So there wasn't anyone keeping track of what known vulnerabilities are in third-party packages, for one. So for example, like you might recall several years ago, the FCK editor had file upload vulnerabilities in it. There's all sorts of things like that it's hard to know. There's no easy way to check your code for all these things. So there wasn't any tools out there that could do this, and so I thought this would be a good opportunity for my company since it's focused on security. So you should have ways to be able to check for vulnerable dependencies in CFML like you can in other languages. So, and there were some existing code security tools out there like Cold Fusion Builder's Security Analyzer, but they're very difficult to work with, expensive, almost impossible to put it into a continuous integration workflow, but very difficult nonetheless. And so driving all this is that unpatched vulnerabilities are really what leads to most security breaches. So it's something you need to pay attention to. So this is the new product that I've launched this year called Fixinator, which is fully built on command box. Let me jump out of here real quick. Okay. Might have to. Oh, okay. There it is. Okay. Already box here now. Okay, I'm just going to bring up a command box here. So Fixinator is a command box command that you would just run install Fixinator. I've already done that on here. So I'm just going to go to a. Okay, so this is a repository that I used for the training classes yesterday. I'm just going to go into a specific folder. I could type here. Alright, I'll just run Fixinator against it. And what it's going to do is scanning that folder, and it's coming up with vulnerabilities in there. This one has some SQL injection vulnerabilities. So that's just kind of a basic idea. One of the cool features, though, is that you can do autofix. There's two modes. There's a prompt mode, and then there's like a I'm feeling lucky mode, where it just goes ahead and fixes it for you. I usually go with the prompt mode, but so you can see here, in this case, this ID is an integer, so I could just go number 2. In this case, yeah, we're going with number 1 here, and so let's see if I do. That works. Right, so you can see here this is the diff of what it just did. Replace that vulnerable line of code with a fixed line of code. So a couple other things that it can do is, I'll just open this up. I already generated a report here. I'm going to move this over. So you can make PDF reports, HTML reports, all that kind of stuff with it as well. Brad had mentioned the audit command. So if I just if I install something that I know has a vulnerability in it, now I can run audit against it. And what that's doing is it's scanning the box.json file looking for vulnerabilities in it. So you can see here this particular version of Framework 1 had a cross-site scripting vulnerability in it. So it was able to pick that up and detect it as vulnerable. So where this all gets really, really cool is once you integrate it into continuous integration. I'm just going to show you a quick example of what that looks like. Let's see here. So there's guides for no matter what kind of source code repository you have going on. There's a way to integrate this into continuous integration. So every time you commit your code to your repository, Fixinator can be automatically run and scanning the results. So these just show you how you can actually set it up. And this is actually showing, like in Azure DevOps, it generates this nice report for you, showing bringing you right to the vulnerable file. Within the once the CI runs and your build triggers, it will give you this full report. All right. Let me get back to Keynote here. It can, yeah. Yep. There we go. Lost my notes. Okay. So, as I mentioned, it's a client built completely on top of command box. It can scan your code for security issues. And installing it is as simple as that. If you want to build tools like this, it's super easy to do with command box. If you know CFML, that's all you need to know. You can start building really cool commands like this. So the decision to actually use command box ended up being a huge strategic win for the product because it really helped me get it out to market much faster. So another thing announcing here is community support for Fixinator. So if you maintain an open source project and would like to use this on your open source project, let me know. I'll get you access to the product. Also, free scanning of box.json files. I'll give you a community key where you can run it on box.json files, and it'll give you reports of vulnerable dependencies. So, and coming soon as well, Fixinator private package scanning in ForgeBox Pro and ForgeBox Enterprise. All right, thank you, Luis.
Thanks, Pete. It's always awesome when you scare us. But to finalize the keynote here with some things and building up upon our partnership here with Fandeo is to talk about ForgeBox. So ForgeBox is what's driving all of the community for packages. It's been a tremendous, very busy 12 months. We've had 14 releases in the past 12 months. Over 99 users, over 143 new packages, over 1,500 versions published, and over 60,000 package installations, which is awesome to see. We can definitely see the state of ForgeBox moving forward with our user base increasing year by year. We also see the amount of packages being published increasing, which is great that people are starting to share, finally, stuff in the CFML community. We also see a huge increase in versions, which means they're taking advantage of continuous integration or being able to publish as many versions as possible for packages, which is really exciting. And in the last 12 months, we've done a lot of work for ForgeBox. ForgeBox 3 was released last year here at Into the Box with support for Lucy extensions, package storage, private packages, badges, which everybody wants badges. Lots of UI updates as well. We introduced emojis. That was the most important one for 3.1. People could have emojis finally. Then we moved into 4.0, so another major release in the same year with another completely new modernized UI. Enterprise support, so ForgeBox Enterprise is finally available. ColdBox 5, we had to deal with nasty GDPR rules. Wouldn't mess with that one. That's pretty nasty. S3 multi-region support, so we're going to be bringing CDN automatic for all binaries for the community. And a lot of view integration into the UI as well. And the API is now powered by the Mementifier, which has increased performance for our API. We then move into more collaboration and even more fixes and issues that we've been resolving as we go through this journey. And 4.5, we introduced lots of more things about responsiveness, enterprise information, documentation, search improvements, lots of great stuff that we're doing for enterprise. Some things that are coming soon as well. In 4.7 will be new user dashboards. We introduced a new @user URL, so everybody can have their own /@user URL as well. We'll have version tab updates. We've built a dependency viewer, so you can actually see dependencies for your objects or for your packages. More badges as well. And we're going to be integrating all the stuff that Foundio's been doing as well. So we're going to be introducing the audit commands for free for everybody in the community that has public packages. So in your versions, you're going to be able to see your vulnerabilities for your box.json. So it's going to be helpful for the community as well. So packages, we also announced with 4.0 that it was going to be free as well. So package storage is available right now. It is completely free to open source, up to 10 gigabytes, and then pro accounts can get more space, but that's more than enough for a lot of projects. So it's available. We want to foment everybody being able to store their binaries with ForgeBox. Private packages as well have been available now. They've been really finely tuned, so you can have your own private packages as well and share them only with the people that you want. Lots of performance updates for the Lucy extension provider, and it's going to actually become part of the Lucy 5.3 and above, because they broke it in 5.3, so hopefully they'll fix it after that one. And then to finalize, we introduced Enterprise. So this has been working for 2 years and promising for 2 years. And we're finally here. And enterprise is a secure and hosted private registry. So you can take this, we'll provide the hosting for it, all container-based, so you can scale it as you see fit. SSL included, WAF included, unlimited packages for you, over 250 gigabytes of storage with CDN capabilities to distribute your binaries globally if you need to. A custom command box namespace so you can know where you are installing or removing these packages from. Access rules so you can create your own security rules, your own permissions, and make it your own. And with Pete, we're doing great stuff. So auditing and Fixinator will be part of enterprise. So you're going to get security scanning for all your packages, whether they're public or private, just for your own enterprise edition. It's really easy to start. 3 commands. 1, you register your endpoint with your own custom namespace. You log into that endpoint and you start using it. It's easy as that. You can mix and match with community or your own enterprise, so it doesn't matter. You're not stuck with just your enterprise. You can mix and match with many enterprises. And of course, lots of benefits for it. Scalable binary storage. You don't have to worry about storage or where you're going to put your binaries. It can detect outdated packages incredibly easy. Faster updates. You really don't have to rely on Git cloning anymore. Your CI builds are going to be, I don't even know how many times faster, but there's no more cloning or full downloads. Everything is fast because of the SEM evaluations in enterprise. So the process of building software becomes a lot faster. Apart from offering the CDN for you so you can actually globally distribute your binary, so it doesn't matter where you're building stuff or distributing stuff. But one of the most important ones is security. Especially if you were working with Git or HTTPS for packages, you really had to give everybody access to that. So you had to get source control access for some maybe sensitive packages that you didn't want to give everybody. And you needed to in order for them to install it. But now you can completely separate them and give whatever people you need for source control and then granular installation and publishing access to whoever needs it. So they can only get the final product. They no longer can have access to source code. And of course, our security audits with Fixinator and Foundio. There's lots of stuff coming for that, so if you want to check it out tomorrow with Brad and Javier in Box Room, which is this room, at 1:30 p.m. So to the end of the day, I know we run a little bit late. We have still lots of plans for ForgeBox, things that we're cooking already. We're dividing them in quarters for ForgeBox since our software as a service. So pro subscriptions are released for this quarter, quarter 2. Swagger documentation, so we can actually start building apps on top of ForgeBox. More focus on security with password meters, password rules, especially for enterprise. The security audits are going to be added. So now the whole community is going to have security audits for their box.json. Fixinator integrations, more analytics, so we can actually get day by day actually functional analytics instead of global over time. 2-factor authentication will be coming first to the web and then to the CLI. Quarter 4, we want to focus on teams and more collaboration utilities. And then hopefully by next year, we have still lots of stuff to work on, from package transfers to notifications, webhooks. We're thinking about code quality and code metrics. We want to bring test box results into your packages so you can actually go to ForgeBox and see the trends of your BDD tests and much more. So it's really, really exciting what's coming, or what we think it's exciting for the CFML future to share as a community. And with that, hopefully in these next 2 days, you can learn, you can make some noise, you can think about Chuck Norris, and enjoy your day. Thank you.